Welcome to another episode of The Local Dive. This is Alex Scott, joined by Ashlyn Portero and special guest this week, Zach Meredith. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, Zach is the youth director here at City Church, and Dean is out of town, headed to Miami for the Miami Hurricanes home opener, Boo. And we are excited to have a conversation about youth ministry and all that goes into that and the challenges that are inherent there, but also the things that are encouraging and kind of maybe City Church's approach and philosophy to student ministry. So, Zach, thanks for being here. We're excited to have you on. Before we get into the nitty-gritty and the serious conversation, though, in the spirit of high school and middle school ministry, we're just going to spend a couple minutes going through some kind of quick hit questions about our high school and middle school years. So should be fun.
I feel like Dean is going to be depressed that he's missing. We're devoting a segment of this podcast to talking about high school, and he's not here for it.
But let's be honest, we don't want it to all be about Leon.
That's true.
So sorry, Dean.
No, I'm excited to be here. This has been a bucket list item for like 2 months since you guys have been doing this. So check that one off.
Yeah,
and,
it only took 17 episodes, and then you're here.
Yep.
Get to peel back the curtain on all the high-tech, formal way that we go about doing a podcast.
Yeah. So we'll start with an easy one. What was your high school mascot?
Yeah, I'll go first. My high school mascot, I went to high school in Fort Myers, Florida. Fort Myers High School, me and Alex, we actually went to high school together at the same time, except you were a senior, I was a freshman.
Yep. Did not know each other.
Did not know each other.
Did you guys know each other?
Nope.
I don't think I have ever.
Didn't know each other.
There was like 2,200 kids maybe.
Yeah,
the school is a big school. So.
Oh.
And we were the Green Wave.
Go Greenies.
Go Greenies, the mighty Green Wave.
Really, really threatening.
How do you have what was your physical mascot for that?
It was like a wave.
It was a wave.
It was a wave.
It was a wave. Okay, so for the first maybe 2 years that I was there, we just had a guy with a flag, and it said "Go Green Wave." And after touchdowns and stuff, he would just run with the flag, and yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But then I think it was my sister's graduating class that bought the mascot. They paid for it, and it was Tsunami Sam, named after longtime coach Sam Sirianni.
Yep.
And this is how I describe it. It actually looked kind of like your haircut, which Zach's rocking a mullet.
Yeah, don't make fun of the mullet now. I was wondering, I had a bet with myself how long it would take, how many minutes into this podcast before it came out that I had a mullet.
Were we over or under?
Honestly, a little over. I was guessing 45 seconds.
Okay.
I picture a wave mascot as it's trying to look like a wave, but it ends up looking more like a head of broccoli.
I was gonna say it was
that.
like a mullet and a piece of broccoli mixed together.
The hair was kind of like swooping over, and it had a scowl on its face,
like a Johnny Bravo situation.
Yeah, kind of a
little bit. Yeah, so
it's
imagine
intimidating.
Right.
Yeah,
more intimidating than like a panther.
I mean. Yeah, if it wasn't low tide, it was intimidating.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Wow,
so go Green
good.
Wave, go Fort Myers.
So I moved around a lot growing up, and so I started off with the Raptors. We were the Ravenwood Raptors. The sad thing is, it was a new high school, so we were only 9th and 10th graders. So our very intimidating football team.
Baby Raptors.
We're the baby Raptors. We had little claws. And then I was back in Tallahassee for a little while, and I was at Childs, go Timberwolves. And then I moved to Jacksonville, and I was at a school called Providence School, and we were at the Stallions.
Wow.
So
yeah,
I don't know if any of those are really strong mascots, but
I like the Raptors.
Yeah, I was gonna say Raptors
sounds pretty vicious.
Seems fierce.
So yeah.
All right. If you had to go back in time, you're either going to middle school or high school. Which are you choosing?
Oh, I'm going high school all the way. And there are many, many reasons for this. I'll hone in on about 2 or 3 of them. First, in middle school, I was about 5 foot, 95 pounds, and chunky. So
we've seen the picture.
And I love sports, and I played every sport, and I was really bad at them. And
which one were you best at out of all of them?
Basketball.
Okay.
Worst at track.
Hurdles were a challenge.
Yeah, no, I was going underneath the hurdles. I didn't even have to duck. I would just run under the hurdles.
Zach thought it was the limbo.
Yeah, I know I didn't have to. I just keep on running. I didn't have to duck. It's like going through a doorway or something.
Oh man! Hey, don't joke about 5 feet, because I am not much higher than that. So
and I wasn't very confident in myself, and I was a big follower of just like, laughing and like, when people would ask me my opinion, I'd be like, well, whatever your guys' opinion is, I'm cool with.
Yeah.
And then so I feel like when I got to high school and I kind of grew and gained some confidence and then just was like more sure about like, kind of my beliefs as a believer, and I had a better friend group in high school, and I could drive in high school, and there's like some independence that I'm like very independent person. So independence in high school that I liked a lot.
Nice.
I would go back to middle school. I'm one of the few people
That's not surprising.
who like I loved middle school. I think because like
Does the fact that you had 7 high school mascots have
Maybe.
anything to do with it?
It might have something to do with it, because I was only at 2 middle schools, but really one, because I came to the school that I was at for most of it in 6th grade. So yeah, probably literally I was just more settled, but also like I think that was when I started getting really involved with school. So I did like cheerleading and dance, and I was also a nerd, and so I did like history club and like that's like
no shame.
that's Zach's avenue.
Yeah.
But
The history fair is Zach's passion.
yeah.
Oh, I was in charge of the history fair and teaching for 3 years. So.
So yeah, I don't know. Middle school was just like fun. I think it's one of those things, like the thing that to me is fun about middle school that I feel like we look back and we're like, oh, middle school is so awkward, but it's like everyone's awkward in middle school. And so
You don't even know you're awkward.
yeah, you don't
really.
even know you're awkward. So I just had like a great group of friends. We lived in a town that was outside of Nashville, but it was a pretty small suburb. And so I just knew we lived near, we all lived near each other, and it was a fun time. High school was good too, but it was just, I, for the most part, went to big high schools, and, it for whatever reason, it just felt more kind of like, I don't know, maybe probably because I wasn't in the same place all the time. There's a lot more adjusting in high school. So yeah, middle school was super fun.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed both, but I'm definitely going high school. It was just better friends. Everything you listed, Zach, pretty much, I agree with, but they were both fine. Like I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't go to middle school, but yeah, I'd just pick high school. All right. Senior year, you're driving to school. What is the anthem that is playing on the radio?
I'll go
going
ahead
first?
because
Go for it.
like I know what it is. I listen to this song every single day of my senior year, before games, driving to school, driving home. Soldier Boy, turn my swag on. Hopped up out the bed, turn my
What
swag
kind of car
on.
did you drive?
A Volvo. Took a look in the mirror, said, "What's up?" You guys know that song?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Loved it.
There you go.
Loved it.
I was probably like, this is so embarrassing. Get Low. Like,
Nice.
which, I don't know. But the worst part, and this kind of goes into, the same thing. I drove a 1998, I think maybe 97, Plymouth Voyager, white. It was basically
That's almost kind of like comes full circle, where you can get away with
it
that.
was an egg. Like, I drove an egg. It was just a white minivan. It looked like an egg. So there was nothing cool about me listening to that song, but that's what it probably was.
Whoa, that's hilarious.
That's good.
It gave you like the instructions on how to dance to that song too.
It did.
Maybe that's why you like it so
Yeah.
much. You don't have to think about it. Like, I just get low. All
Show
right.
up to the prom and
Yeah, I
you've
know
been
this
studying.
song. Yeah, it's like the old school cha-cha slide or whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's so bad. So I was really into Fall Out Boy my senior year. So like Sugar We're Going Down.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was like in my little white Corolla. I was like flying down the interstate.
Little angst.
Yeah, a little angst. Well, and then at the end of my senior year, I was in an AP Psych class, and my teacher, she was like really young. She was like the young, cool teacher. And she burned a CD for all of us that was like, you're graduating, like here's all of your like angsty teenage songs. And so it was stuff like The Freshman. Do you guys remember that song? That's like, is it like Verve Pipe or something like that? Or The Verve? Or
The
something?
Verve, I think.
The
Verve.
Verve. Is it The Verve?
Yeah.
Okay, like that song.
What's their
and
famous
then-
song? The Verve's famous song.
I think it's Freshman.
We'll Google.
Yeah.
We'll Google. Okay,
yeah.
we'll come
love
back
that
to
song.
this.
I love that song.
But there were just a bunch of those like angsty teenage songs on there. And so I was definitely the person who was like in my feels by senior year. Like not even listening to like, I mean, I was very like, I did love pop, but I also would get into my feels with just the,
I feel like
the
you would
angsty music.
like Green Day.
oh yes.
Like Wake Me
that-
Up When September Ends.
What
very
was the
applicable to now.
song? What
Okay,
was the
so
song? What
It
was,
is the Verve Pipe.
Oh, okay. I was right.
And
the
their
Verve
song,
Pipe.
the song is Freshman.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I love that song. Love the song.
I'm done. I'm getting off.
No, you were right, and I definitely don't think I know what that is, but there is also a band from England called The Verve.
That's what I was thinking of, and they have a
they
cool
Bittersweet
Bittersweet
Symphony.
Symphony
Yes,
is
Bittersweet
their
Symphony. is
Oh,
the Verve.
okay. I do
so-
know that song. I just didn't know that was the band name.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Anyways,
Can you sing it for
we
us?
were all
No,
right.
nobody wants that.
Can you do a spoken word of the lyrics?
No, the Freshman is actually a really sad, depressing song. So I will only talk about happy things here.
All right. When I think of youth ministry, I think of Taco Bell and Mountain Dew. I don't know if that's
Staples.
still accurate,
Ugh.
but that's what comes to mind for me. If you guys were forced to go to Taco Bell and eat as many tacos as you could right now, what's your guess on how many you could put down?
Do I have anything to do afterwards, or am I just going crazy on some tacos?
Well, if you eat
That's
if you eat
really-
a lot, you're gonna have something to do
Oh my
afterwards.
God.
No, like am I working out? Am I
No, you're
trying to read a
just-
book? Am I
No.
trying to
Take a nap.
Jacob, just cut us off now.
Oh man. If I have an audience there, I'm a very audience driven person. If I have an audience, I could go 15.
Is this like a you won't situation?
Yeah,
where it's
yeah, I
like,
could
okay,
go-
Yeah.
I could
Mhm.
honestly,
That's what I
if
thought.
I'm not scared about being sick, I could probably go 15 to 18. Easy.
That's a lot of tacos. I think I could do like the party pack. It's
12?
like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
I think I could do that. It would be painful.
Dude,
but
if
I
you
could
can do
it.
12, you can do 13, and then you're almost to 15, and then you can do 14 and 15.
Okay, I
I
haven't
don't know.
been to a Taco Bell in literally probably like 10 years. I'm not saying that is like a, flag to fly, but for like legitimately, are we talking like when I picture tacos, I picture like street tacos, or
Yeah,
are these more like
nothing-
burritos?
Nothing bougie. Just picture Taco Bell ground beef or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Lettuce
Some
and
lettuce
cheese.
and cheese.
Maybe throw some fire sauce on it.
Oh,
I mean,
you get me hungry.
oh my gosh, there's one right across
Yeah.
the street. You guys could go. I don't know. I could probably eat like 5, 6, 7. Could I eat that many?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
I don't know how big they are.
I mean,
I mean, if I was
The
really
same size as they were 10 years ago, probably. I don't know.
if I was really committed, then yeah, I could probably.
peer
I
pressure
don't know. I
is
would
a
guess
heck of a
7.
thing.
Yeah.
Peer pressure is a heck of a
7
thing.
seems
Okay.
right. Like
Especially if you're not right. You're not eating like things with it. You're just
no,
eating the
just
tacos.
just tacos.
Okay.
No cinnamon twists.
I mean,
no,
I think I don't know.
No
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What else do they have? I don't even know.
Soft tacos, hard tacos. I don't know.
I'm just thinking
Mountain
about
Dew.
tortillas that like expand once you eat
No,
them.
they're not that big.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
so
All
maybe
right.
7.
So Zach, I think you would win, or you're at least most confident.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that.
Okay, 2 more questions, and then we'll get into the serious stuff. Real quick, did you pack your lunch or buy your lunch?
In
Middle school,
Either one.
early middle school packed, and then I got cool enough and convinced my parents to let me buy.
Did you pack your lunch or did your parents?
Oh no, I didn't pack my lunch.
I was gonna be impressed if like 6th grade Zach was packing his
No,
lunch.
if 6th grade Zach would pack his lunch, it'd be like the leftover Taco Bell from last night.
ew.
Which there wouldn't have been because you'd have eaten 15 tacos.
It'd have been like a half a bag of Cheez-Its and
just
half a
random.
Gatorade bottle.
Oh my gosh. I packed my lunch, and then senior year, I think. Well, junior year we could go off campus, so I usually kind of did half and half. And then by senior year I was pretty much buying my lunch every day. But I was like, I mean, kind of like in seriousness, I would buy like, grapes and the pack of cookies. Like I wasn't like my full balanced meal. I also like had to eat. This is a whole nother story about my childhood, but
Deep dive right
I
here.
came from a very healthy eating home, and so usually if I was buying my lunch, it was like I was making it count. I was taking advantage of my freedom.
I definitely bought lunch. Fort Myers High had like a nacho bar every day.
Oh,
I
wow.
think.
My freshman year they did. Your senior year,
Yeah.
after that, it was like they would package it up because people were taking advantage of it.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, you would go in, get a tray, fill it with chips, dump as much meat and cheese on it as you could possibly want, and I think I ate nachos. I don't know, 3/4 of the time I ate lunch.
And
It
then
was either
pizza.
nachos or Papa John's pizza because we got Papa John's
Yeah.
brought in, or these nasty they were like nasty chicken sandwiches, but I ate them. They were just like fried
It
chicken.
like sat in a warmer
Yes,
for a long time.
which is weird because I actually only prefer Papa John's pizza like not really hot, just like
Interesting.
like warmer Papa John's where the cheese has all congealed and it's become more solid is the best way to eat Papa
I
John's.
can vibe with that.
Do you guys remember cafeteria food pizza?
The square
Yeah.
or like the rectangle pizza? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
With like the teeny tiny square pepperonis on there?
Yes.
It's like, those are real pepperonis for sure. I believe you.
Uncured or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, all the lunch ladies out there.
It's like old bread with ketchup, and then like processed cheese, and then like little bacon bits sprinkled on it as pepperoni.
Oh, help. We wonder
delicious
why we're
and
all so
nutritious.
unhealthy now.
All right. Last question, and then we'll get into it for real. What is your most awkward middle school memory?
Man.
I mean, you like cried in a bathtub. You shared one time.
I
in
did
middle
cry in
school.
a bathtub one
So
time.
that's pretty
I
awkward.
feel
like-
confident in sharing mine now because it is not that.
Oh, and in honor of Dean and Sarah in his absence, here, let me do this real quick.
Oh,
Ah.
man.
There we go.
Yeah, I think I popped an eardrum just then.
Golly.
All right, most awkward middle school moment. I'll start.
Yeah, can you go first? I
I'll
got a
set the
lot.
table. So the first that comes to mind, there's probably others that are more embarrassing, but the first that comes to mind, I think it was 7th grade. Maybe it was I don't know. At some point in middle school, my voice changed. It went from, high and squeaky to, well, I guess what it is now. And so early in the school year, we had to do a project on like a Native American tribe, and so I stand up to give my presentation and I'm like, hi, my name is and I squeaked the entire presentation and was
no.
totally unaware. Like I didn't even know.
You like
I
couldn't
just,
hear yourself?
I just couldn't hear myself. Like zero on like negative self-awareness when it came to that. I was probably just like nervous
man.
about talking in front of my classmates or something. And so for the rest of the year, it was like, hi, Alex. And everybody just made fun of me. So it was awkward, and I didn't live it down. But I'm gonna go with that. There's probably worse, but
So I went to a private elementary and middle school, and the 8th grade year we would go on a mission trip to Mexico, and everyone had to get their shots, to be able to go over like tetanus shots or whatever. And so I guess in 8th grade you just don't have those shots, and so the people would come to the school, and then like part of like one of your classes in 8th grade is you'd have to go like one by one and get shots. And we're in English class my 8th grade year, and we were getting called out one by one to go get these shots, and they would come back in and they would have like an apple, like, for natural sugar or whatever. And then so it's towards the end and everybody's got their shots, and then one girl passed out.
Oh, no.
And then and everyone started going crazy. And then another girl passed out because she got nervous. And a buddy of mine stood up and was like, "We're dropping like flies. It was the shots." And I get sick. I start to get like lightheaded. I'm like, I'm going to pass out. And I
Oh
like
my
just
gosh.
sat there, and I accidentally, like, I threw up in a garbage can because I just felt so bad.
yeah.
And then so anyway, they took us three, the two girls who literally fainted and like bang fell on the table and bang fell on the floor, and then me, who was like hurled over a garbage can, took us down to the office, and they called all our parents, and all our parents came. And I remember I was sitting there with my mom, and she was like, I was like, "Mom, I want to go home. I don't feel good. Like, I just feel really bad right now." And she was like, rubbing my back and like, we can go home. It's okay. And then I see the two girls who fainted, like, walking back to class. And they looked at me, and the judging faces that they had, it was that moment in my life where I was like, you know what? You like, have some self-dignity. Like,
Pull it together.
toughen up a little bit. And go. I ended up going home. I still went home.
Still went home, watched
But-
like Maury or something in the middle of the
like
afternoon.
Price is Right and
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune. But I went back to school the next day, and all my buddies were like, "Bro, you didn't even faint, and you went home, and your mom. They said your mom was rubbing your back and consoling you." And I was like, "Yeah, I wanted to go home. Like, what's wrong with that?" And they're like, "Well, the girls came back and they actually fainted." And so like that was very embarrassing. It took me a while to get over that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where the competitive fire comes from.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
like look back at that time and I feel like
You still see their faces seared into your memory.
I can close my eyes and I can see them walking back, and their faces just make me want to like I don't know, run a mile or something, do something crazy.
Ashlyn, do you have anything you would like to share?
I really am like trying to think about like truly embarrassing. I didn't have like a, thank the Lord, like a, I tripped in front of the whole school kind of a situation or anything like that. I really can't. It sounds so lame.
Well,
I
that's why you want to go back
Yeah,
to middle school.
You said middle school was your favorite. So.
I'm sure there probably is something that I've repressed deep down in there, but I think anything that was embarrassing to me probably wasn't actually embarrassing. It was more just like I put pressure
Super
on myself.
self-conscious or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, that was fun, and thanks for entertaining those questions.
Good
We'll spend some time, hopefully, in some meaningful conversation. Now that I think we're out on 20 or so minutes in, but Zach, so you lead our student ministry for high school and middle school students every week, and you're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Just wanted to bring you on to, and I mean, I think share maybe some of our thoughts as well. Ashlyn kind of oversees that ministry and works with you in that. And so, what are to start off with? What is most encouraging to you about the ministry that you lead?
Most encouraging right now is I could think of a few things off the top of my head. We are having new students every week, even through this crazy time of indecision and just not knowing what the future holds, or with curfews and with masks or no masks or all this stuff. We're still seeing students coming. And then that leads me to my second thing I'm encouraged about is they're coming because our regular students are being bringers.
That's awesome.
Which has been pretty cool. And, on top of that, it's cool to see, the students who were new at one point are regular students, but now they're bringing new students as well. And then we've seen them bring new students. So like the new students 6 months ago are now like the grand bringers of the new kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which has been really cool to see. I think that's a testament to our volunteer, and I think we're going to talk about that later, our volunteer culture and just the awesome job they do. That's been encouraging. Another thing that's been encouraging is we've had a new wave of volunteers that have come in, and they are bought in already. A lot of times that takes a lot of time and shared experiences to get just somebody bought into the ministry. They think it's, middle school, high school, we're just going to go hang out and eat pizza and throw water balloons at each other. And that can't be further from the truth. There is a time for that, but just the new wave of volunteers that have come in have been really encouraging. It's been kind of another jump start. And then the individual discipleship relationships that we have seen from volunteers to students, of just being very intentional. There is a time where they are in front of 7, 8, high school guys in a small group. But then there also is a time of recognizing what one or two students who are man, these guys could be game changers. I'm going to grab hold of them and I'm going to, walk them through a book. We're going to read a part of the Bible together. I'm going to check up on them daily, every other day. And so we've seen a lot of that happening and seen a lot of fruit from that. So that has been encouraging as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know one of the things, and we texted a little bit about this last night, and I shared it with Dean and Ashlyn as well, is that's just encouraging for me to see. So every week we run a report of first-time givers so that we can send an acknowledgement and say thank you and for giving. And I was working on that yesterday, and as I'm running that report, I see youth students on that list, and there are students who give to see, and I'm not 100% sure with these two, if they work or if they have a job or if it's allowance money or something, but I just think that's a really, that was super encouraging to me and a neat testament to the ministry that you're doing and the kind of the way that disciples are being built in that ministry, to see people who are saying, hey, you know what, this isn't just about me. I want to see and support the mission here in Tallahassee. And so it's been cool, and I had the opportunity to last summer, 2019, to go to camp and just to see.
Assistant to the youth director.
Yeah, I was assistant to the youth director for a week. I got to rock a big straw hat and a fanny pack.
Oh yeah,
and,
come on.
Live the camp life.
Is it summer camp if you don't have a fanny pack?
No, I don't think so. That's
or
why
a mustache.
That's
a mustache can offset a fanny pack if you don't have a fanny pack.
They might not let you in if you have both.
Yeah, it's a very tight line
you have
there.
To choose.
Yeah. But no, I mean it was cool. I think you mentioned, sometimes the the conception of youth ministry is this, oh, they just play video games or play games and, throw water balloons and eat pizza. But for a week, I got to lead a group and dive deep into the scriptures with high school guys, and was so encouraged by what is taking place in that ministry and the way that the Lord's working through you and in their lives. It's been really cool.
Yeah, I get sixth graders coming up to me on Wednesday nights saying, "Here you go," and handing me like $4.
That's awesome.
It's like, what do you mean? He's like, "Oh no, this is my giving to the church," which is cool because that tells me that like at home their parents are like showing them example of what it looks like to be a Christian, a church member, what we're called to do, what Scripture calls us to do, and part of that is like, hey, we're gonna pay you an allowance for doing whatever, taking out the trash, mowing the lawn, but like you're gonna take your $4. Like a sixth grader's not gonna be like, oh, I read. Or maybe that'd be awesome, but like I was reading in the scriptures that we're supposed to give 10%. Like 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be the parent being like, okay, hey,
here's how to be generous.
Yeah, here's how we be generous. I'm gonna make you give this $4 and instill that in you now. That's awesome.
You're gonna give 4, you're gonna save 4, and then you get the rest.
Yeah, for college. By the time you get to college, you have like $15. But
flashbacks. So one of the things, and you mentioned this a little bit, and you had the opportunity earlier this week to share with our staff in our staff meeting, this idea that these individual relationships that your volunteers and you have formed with students, and really the way that's in some sense changed the game for conversation in small groups and people engaging with the scriptures on a regular basis. And so I mean, this is obviously in the context of student ministry for you, but maybe talk to people who are listening that maybe aren't in that world but are connected relationally with people. Can you maybe just talk about the importance that and what maybe really has driven you to reinforce over and over and over again the importance of relationships in the context of discipling?
Right, for sure. So think about it like this. Every student who's ever come to youth ministry was like, or to the youth group was brand new at one time. It was their first week, right? And so probably 0.5% of the population can walk into a brand new environment that they've never been into with a whole bunch of people who already know each other and be totally comfortable, totally open, willing to share, willing to be vulnerable. Like that's just not, like we can't expect students to come and then feel like, I can be totally open and totally, feel comfortable. Like that's just not a thing.
Yeah.
And so one thing that we talk about all the time as volunteers is being consistent, being a consistent presence on Wednesday night and in your small group. Not too high, not too low, just being like, in there and just being in community with them, continually asking them if they have any thoughts, if they have any prayer requests. And then, it is discouraging. That's human nature, but not being overly discouraged when like the new students, aren't responding. And one thing I tell parents like who all the time they come and tell me, they're like, hey, I want to get my kid involved, but like they're very anxious about not knowing anybody. And I said, I get it. That's a thing that we deal with all the time. But if I'm doing my job correct and our volunteers are doing their job correct, like give us 4 weeks of the student coming and being consistent as well. And if by the end of those 4 weeks they still feel like they don't know anybody or they don't feel connected, well, please tell me, because then we have to figure out what we're doing wrong to not connect and engage students. So as far as the relationships goes, like that is huge when we're talking about discipleship. Because I mean, I'll give you an example. Two of our group leaders, they lead the 9th and 10th grade guys. And 2 years ago, the 9th and 10th grade guys were, majority of them, not Sunday morning, not anything outside of Wednesday night. Parents didn't go to church on Sunday, anything like that. Mm-hmm. And they would come because it was fun, and there were girls here. Cool. At least you're coming.
Here.
Right, yeah, come on. They were discouraged every week. They come to me and say, these kids just like, they won't stop cutting up. They won't answer any questions. It's like we're talking to a bunch of brick walls, and like they're just like not there. But I understand because they're cool outside of small group. they're okay in the service, but they're just like not engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to tell them outside of just keep on plowing, just keep on digging, just keep on building those relationships. I mean, because eventually with enough that's how you get growing communities, like shared experiences. So like sports teams and like people that like leave the military are like constantly wanting, like needing to feel that like void of like brotherhood or whatever. But those shared experiences, like as you gain those through games, through eating, through services, through like something crazy happening at youth, I mean, that's when the relationships are going to build, and that's going to lead to discipleship. And we've seen fruit of that. And I was talking to one of our group leaders the other day, and I mean, this has been like a 2-year process with that specific group. And he came up, he was like, man, they are just like, they've turned a 180. They're answering questions. You can tell they're thinking about it. They're wanting to read scripture more. And he was like, you know what I think it is? I think it's because I have a good relationship with them. I was like,
you're like, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yes, of course. And I think that's like a cool like leadership principle too, as someone who like leads volunteers, is just because I think it and I tell it to you one time does not automatically mean that you get it and you're full-fledged into it. That it takes like as the leader as well, like patience and, repetition and encouraging and coming alongside and supporting those group leaders. So yeah, that's been something really cool that we've seen.
So I have a question. One of the things that I feel like you and your team do a great job of is balancing the maybe the two roles of being like friends to students, like building a relationship with them, coming alongside them, like being in their lives, as opposed to just, we facilitate Wednesday night, but like all the kids just hang out with each other. Like your leaders actually are friends with these kids and having lunch with them and hanging out and that kind of stuff, but also maintaining that leadership role and discipling them. And, there's a clear boundary between the volunteer or the leader and the student. Can you just kind of talk about how, in your mind, like how do you successfully balance those two roles so that, it's kind of almost like when you talk about like our, parents will say like, I'm your parent, I'm not your friend, and then as you get older, that sort of starts to shift, but there's always kind of two roles. What does that look like in youth ministry for you guys?
Yeah, it's, I don't think we're where we want to be at that. I think we're a lot better than we were a few years ago, and it wasn't smooth sailing at all. There was a lot of bumps and bruises that come along with trying to figure out where that line is.
Yeah.
Of like, you're being too friendly with them, so they're taking advantage of it, and then we have serious issues that we do not want to have on a Wednesday night, or just like in your life as a believer in general. And then there's the other side of it where like students, they this isn't any fun. Like they're just like authoritarian all the time.
Right.
I think it looks different in middle school and high school. I think in middle school, you have to show yourself when to turn that switch on and off before group where we're hanging out, and then in service, and then in small group, and it's a lot more reinforcing. Like, hey, stop, guys. Here we go. Redirect. Right. In high school, it just naturally as students like grow in their maturity, and they kind of like understand like a lot, because a lot of these students, like they've never been to church before, so we can't expect them to walk into a church and know exactly how to act in every aspect of what we do on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So there is kind of like that learning curve. But I think and I also think it's different for the individual as well, and their rapport with the students. This is just like, been something that we've been dealing with, which is okay, of having to combine a group, and the group leaders have two totally different ways that they lead a group, and neither one is more right than the other, but some of the students are having a hard time adjusting because one is a lot more, let's just like talk about what you guys want to talk about, and one is a lot more, hey, we are talking about this tonight, we're only going to talk about this.
Yeah. And
both are great, but it's just going to take time, like I said earlier, in figuring out where that line is for that individual group, for those individual leaders. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, and I mean, I was thinking, because you were even kind of talking about like sometimes those lines can maybe be blurred, and I think about like, I mean, in student ministry that I've done, like when I was in college and stuff with, middle school and high school girls, like a lot of times they're so hungry for like a friendship or a relationship with someone who can kind of be like a role model to them. But then, it's your job to sort of maintain that boundary, and like that is actually loving, and that's it's not saying I can't open my life up to you, or I can't be, we can't be friends, but it's different than your peer at school. And so that, I think that was a good point too, that it does take time and intentionality to build that.
And that is the unique beast of youth ministry, is that in the same room you have a 6th grade boy and a senior girl in high school. That is crazy. You have that's one of the challenging things is I can't tell you how many times I've been up there speaking, and it's a really deep time, and I'm challenging our students to call to respond, and then you have a middle school boy just rip one in the middle. And it's bro, really?
How do you even recover in that?
The middle school boys are,
I think you just say we're gonna pray.
Yeah, the middle school boys are ripping toots. Can I say farts on here?
Yeah, totally.
Are ripping farts. And then the high school girls are crying over in a corner because they feel convicted or they feel so emotional. It's oh my gosh.
You have to hold those two tensions at the same time.
It's ripping my arms from my shoulders.
Oh my gosh.
You were going to ask something, I think.
don't even know.
I'm really sorry. I just...
No.
I think the moment is past.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, when you asked if you could say farts, I was like, we've had worse things said on this podcast, so that's
true.
It's relatively
We
tame.
won't have to put the little E explicit
I
on
know.
the cover of the episode.
Yeah. Just ripping toots.
That's going to be the title of the episode.
Oh,
Ripping
man.
toots.
Thank the Lord we don't have sound effects.
All right, so that actually that leads actually to another thing I wanted to talk about. And
ripping toots. All right,
that
cool.
no, just the tension that you have to manage between. I'm convinced I'm going to get us back on track. So you have to lead a 6th grade guy and a 12th grade girl and high school guys and middle school girls, and they're like you said, there's a whole bunch of challenges that come with all that. What that's a challenge. What are some things that maybe as it relates to those dynamics with the people who are in the room, or you've talked a lot about students who, and I love this about our youth ministry. I think it's been this way almost since day one, and I love it, is that we've had so many people that are a part of our youth ministry that never have come on a Sunday. They have no church background. Their family's unchurched or dechurched, and so. What are some of the things that are challenging in this kind of area? Every ministry has challenges, but what's maybe unique to student ministry?
Yeah. I think a lot of these, another thing I think we were going to talk about is misconceptions about students as well, and I think a lot of these overlap. But some challenges in youth ministry, I have a few that I want to write a blog post on, but I don't want to write a blog post because it'd be slightly embarrassing. But...
Let this be your blog.
Your verbal blog.
Verbal blog. How much time we got?
Vlog.
Vlog. So one thing that's challenging about youth ministry that I didn't anticipate is it is a lot more challenging than I thought. I know that's stupid to say, but it's tough because you do a lot of work throughout the week, and you invest all this time in the students, but the fruit that you hope to see is not always immediate and there for encouragement. We see, this is my 4th year, but I'm seeing there's been an example the other day of a fruit that I saw grow from a relationship I had with a student 4 years ago that now is just kind of coming up to the forefront. And so I told, one of our volunteers that youth ministry is a long-term game. I mean, think about it. We have them for 7 years of the most formative years of their life, the most rebellious years of their life. And so it's a long-term game. And a lot of times if you focus on, the individual problems that come up on a Wednesday night, and I fall prey to this too, of this didn't go as I wanted to. I wish this group would have gone better. Oh man, this kid said this word and I had to deal with it and call their parent. If you focus on each the 10-foot view, it can be very discouraging. And so, what we have to do is kind of look at the 10,000-foot view and realize that what we thought were these really low valleys are kind of potholes, and really God is doing a great work in the the longevity of these students in their time in the youth ministry. I mean, I think about if I thought about every Wednesday night I'd probably get discouraged pretty easily. But then I look 3 years ago where some of our students were and where they are now, and look at it like more of like a long-term thing. I mean, it is it's very encouraging.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge that
cool.
I have to continually fight against, of coming home on a Wednesday at 10:30 and I'm just sitting there staring at the wall. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But then
did anything good happen tonight?
Yeah, I know. That was last night.
Too soon. Sorry.
Yeah, too soon. But then though 2 days later, you'll get a text from a volunteer and be like, hey, I had this great conversation with the student Wednesday night. I forgot to tell you about it because I didn't get to see you after. This is really cool. What we're doing. This group question was great. It hit the group
That's awesome.
right in the heart. And so it's those things. That's a very challenging aspect of youth ministry, in my opinion. It's hard not to get bogged down by the the little things, the little fires that you put out on a Wednesday night.
I mean, and I know you may have more to say there, but I think that's a good metaphor for, in a lot of ways, the Christian life, right? I think as you were talking about that, I think it's just about my own walk with the Lord and the things that I'm just oh my gosh, I just can't get this right. I'm not obedient here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing fruit in this area of my life. And then I look again at the long view, and I look back and I go, man, look how much the Lord has done in me, and how much more there is to go. But that sort of just sustained faithfulness over
Mm-hmm.
time, in our own lives, in the lives of others, in the lives of, I think that's should be some encouragement to people who are, trying to share the gospel with people, who are regularly, discipling other individuals. Is it can be really frustrating in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But to every once in a while pull back and say, okay, what has the Lord done here? How has the Lord worked and moved, to be encouraged, so that it's not always,
Right.
thinking you're in a valley when you're in a pothole.
Yeah.
You had some other, that was good. That was good.
That was good what you just said. Made that tatted on me.
It'll go great with the mullet.
I know. Covered up with the mullet.
What other challenges?
Apathy to growing in your relationship with the Lord. They're kind of at the weird stage where a lot of them are still being either brought by their parent, forced to come by their parent, and so they just kind of come, and it's very challenging to have them make their faith their own. A lot of times that doesn't happen until they kind of, the old, everybody always says, well, when they get off to college, then that's when they kind of find, they're on their own, they have their independence. So that's something that we try to equip our parents to be the main disciplers, obviously, of their students. And, we do see a huge difference of students that are being discipled by their parents, and then students who they're in the world for 166 hours and then come to youth for 2 hours and are part of the church, and then go back to the world for 166 hours a week. So that's a challenge. One interesting challenge, which I've never experienced until just now, and Hunter Levine, shout out to Hunter, he kind of told me about this challenge coming in, and he said something that's very discouraging or challenging is you have these students for such a long time, and you walk through life challenges with them, you cry with them, you laugh with them, you have serious talks with them, you correct them, you challenge them, and then they get to their senior year and it's crickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's I don't, and then I sit there and I think well, what did I do wrong? Or am I not cool enough? Do I need to start using swag and dope and this is chillax and stuff like that? What?
Don't use dope.
No, yeah, dope isn't cool.
I listened in Dare.
But that's just something challenging, and you face that a little bit too with transitioning 5th graders to 6th graders. You have that challenge as well. On Sunday mornings, they're going from kids service where they're singing songs and dancing and have a skit or whatever to 1 week later, now they're expected to be with everyone else in congregational worship. It's a lot different.
Yeah, it's
and
a
it's
big
challenging.
transition.
And then on the flip side of that, on the other end of that spectrum, is as they get independence as a 12th grader, as 11th grader, it's all of a sudden it's deuces.
Mm-hmm.
And I can I speak into that real quick?
Yeah.
Why I think that's I was reading an article the other day, and it was like, I want to give credit to it, but I don't know who wrote it. But he was talking about 5 things that transform ministries, and one of them was to bring your youth students into like the church family, because he argued what happens a lot of times is if we just stick exclusively with the youth group, we create this youth silo that all of our students' energy and their excitement revolves just around youth. And so when they graduate from that and they look around and they say, I don't know anything outside of youth at church, and I don't know where to put my energy, I don't know where to put my excitement, I don't know where to put, my commitment to, so I'm just not going to do it anymore because this phase of my life is over. And so, I think that happens a lot of times, especially if they don't, like their family doesn't go to church on a Sunday and they've been coming to youth group. I read that and I'm sitting here going, okay, how do we get those students like more connected to the local church with like, our women's events, our equip classes, like just even encouraging to come on Sunday morning and we've seen students like join volunteer teams. That's a great way to do it. Just to like knock down this like youth silo that we create to where like anything outside of this Wednesday nights, I don't know anything else going on at City Church outside of 6:30 to 8:30 on a Wednesday night. And I think that's a challenge that we've been going through.
I was going to say, I think that is something though that it, kind of looking from the outside of the ministry to see how there has been growth in that. Cause it's neat on a Sunday morning to see youth students out front, holding signs with our guest services team and serving in other ways. I mean, and I think about, for me, some of my most formative times, like just being, in the body of the church, have been getting to know people and having conversations with people who I otherwise would have never connected with, but who, even if it wasn't this direct, intentional discipleship conversation, it was just through talking to one another, I learned something or grew or, was ministered to in some way. And so thinking about that the students can have that. But I imagine that it's probably a really big challenge with missing that piece of parent involvement. And like I think about if you are a parent of students in our church, I would think that one of the most missional things you could do would be to intentionally try to invest in another family, just so that there's that kind of support and outreach there.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think another thing that I'm curious to hear your opinion on, Zach, is, so we say that, and you've echoed it already, like we want to see parents be the primary disciple makers in their homes. Like we want the church to be a great resource, to be a great support, to aid in that, to create opportunities and environments where that can take place. But like you said, if it's only happening 2 hours out of the week, they're being formed by a whole bunch of other things that probably are not pointing them to the hope that we have in the gospel. I just feel like society in general is busy, and now there's like, when you get into high school, it's like, oh, we've got to have all the clubs and all the extracurriculars, and I've got to get my college resume, or my student's college resume built. And I feel like there are, great committed families that, like, for whatever reason, and it's not to say that they aren't discipling their students, but where Sunday morning, Wednesday night just is not a priority for them. Is that a challenge that you guys deal with at all? Or, is that a misconception, or is that somewhat accurate?
No, that is like, woo, sheesh. That's accurate. That's very accurate. That's something that is something that we speak to daily. For a student whose parents don't want to drive them to church because it's too far of a drive and the kid wants to go, right? That is like pretty discouraging. That it's like, you build this relationship with the kid and then they get a text saying, hey, I can't come anymore because my parent doesn't want to drive me 25 minutes across town. And it's like, okay, you know what my next text is? What's your address? Like, I'm sending somebody to come get you because like you're coming to church. But yeah, that's been something, it's kind of been like a silver lining of this whole summer season of being, trying to do youth in COVID, during COVID, is like, we do as much as we can. And we have all the safety precaution stuff that, CDC tells us to do, and we're doing our due diligence with it. And what's been cool is we have seen less people come like average, which, you know, is expected. But we've seen a lot of the students, and I think I've shared this with both of you guys separately, like we've seen a lot of students who during the school year we don't see at all, because there's so much stuff going on that I mean, it has to be a perfect storm. They don't have this sports game. They don't have this club. They don't have this practice. They don't have a lot of homework. They've already eaten. They got a good night's sleep the week before. They've already done their chores.
Their temperatures between 96 and 98.6.
Yeah, and it's like 35 things down the list.
All the
it's like
stars align.
Yeah. Oh, you know, it's you know, I'm a Sagittarius and it's like November. Yeah, I'll go to whatever that is, right? And it's like 35 things down the line, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go to youth.
You just like threw out astrology.
I don't know.
I'm like, actually, is that right? Should we be concerned?
It's like the year of the like horse or something like that. I don't know. But
anyways,
what's been cool is like all of those things have been non-existent this summer because everything's been shut down.
Yeah.
And so while we are having youth, and it's been like we're doing it safely, we're not being irresponsible with it. Like we see those students are coming because it's like the only thing that's going on.
That is cool.
And so I tell our volunteers, like, holy cow, like, you know, this is a time where we build the relationships. We have to be super, super intentional, because when school starts again, and normally we're like number 25 on the list, hey, if we can crack top 5, if we can be like in the top 4, like that is a huge win.
We can see them once a month instead of once a year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that's like, you know, summertime is a great time to go get lunches, go get coffees. A lot of our students who do virtual school, like I've talked to some of them about like, hey, I'm done at like my Zoom ends at 1:40, and I can go get lunch or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's been like a really cool thing that we've seen, and we've been trying to like fight against. It's just it's hard when like the parent is like, you know what, we have this weekend off, let's go to the beach all weekend. And then you expect then your student to come on a Wednesday night and have the church a priority when they go to college, and then the parent gets frustrated when the kid goes to college and they don't go to church. Well, like, you know, why don't you see this as a priority? And it's like, well, you know, baseball was a priority, you know, like, yeah, like all of the clubs and building my resume was what I was fed all middle school and high school, and to be successful, like, isn't that the priority? And it's like, not, I mean, there is responsibility on the student, but at the same time, you can't blame the student when like they grow up and all they hear is be the best athlete you can be the best scholar you can be, have the most, you know, create the most memories with friends and families as you can. And then it's like, well, how come they got to college and my kid's like off the rails right now? And it's like, well, like where were their like in their formative years when they were learning about priorities in life, and like, you know, as a believer, like this is kind of like what you do. This is the fruit that come from your relationship with Jesus. It's like they just don't know. And
I think it's hard too you almost, I would imagine, want to say like you don't want people to think that can't happen in the life of the church. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to prioritize all those other things you mentioned in order to have good memories, to have good relationships, to, you know, to be formed. It's like all of those things can happen. I mean, you know, physically at the church through programs and stuff, but also through the friendships and through 100%. The relationships that you build there. 100%. And so then it's great. I mean, to me, there's a strong difference in a family who is, you know, going to their baseball game or they're involved in their kids' sports teams, but they also have this missional mindset of like, we want to, yes, be present, but the church is going to be our most important priority. But we also, out of, you know, genuine like love and care for the people in our lives, we also want to be in those relationships. Like that's very different than I have this very narrow vision for, you know, how my kid can have the best life possible, and the church just isn't in that. You know, that's really hard.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my favorite thing I see on a Wednesday night is a youth student come in and they have their practice jersey on.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Or they're like nasty and sweaty, or they're coming in with their backpack and books. And it's like they could be doing a million other things right now. They have a million excuses, but they're coming in and they're like, hey, I'm starving. I just came from practice. Hey, man, I smell really bad. Do you have an extra shirt? Yes. Yeah, for sure. Here's mine off my back, right? And it's like that is like so encouraging for me to no.
I just got an image of you preaching without a shirt on. It's kind of weird.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Yeah, being there's a funny joke in there somewhere about it.
I'll just keep going.
But yeah, no, I agree 100% with that.
One more question, and then we'll transition into our local on tap segment, where we might actually hit one of the questions I wanted to get to, but we just running a little short on time. But one of the things that we've talked about is that we see a lot of students with unchurched backgrounds come in, and I think a large portion of that is you guys are very committed to like holding the scriptures before our students and pointing them to Jesus and using the Bible and discipleship as the primary kind of tool for engagement. But something else that you lead really well is just events where people can come connect and that relationship piece can be built and people can have fun. We make sure to point people to Jesus in all this, but like, we do something every Halloween right around that season called Zombie Survival Night. You did a glow night a couple weeks ago to kick off the fall semester. So you have these sort of event-driven nights that are really focused on, I'll say, fun and relationships. At least that's the way I view it. Can you maybe talk about the ministry philosophy behind that? I know you talked earlier about this sort of shared experience and the way that builds relationship, but talk about like, why do college students dress up as zombies and stuff and get Nerf
because
guns
it's awesome.
Shot at them.
Because it's awesome. No, that's that like gets me pumped up thinking about it. I got like chills right now. But
the countdown is on.
Yeah, the countdown is on, October 26th. So one thing that we hold firm to, and I didn't make this up. I wish I did, because that'd be sweet. But we do everything with conviction and purpose. So conviction of, hey, these students need Jesus just as much as I need Jesus. That the only difference between like a believer and a non-believer is like what Jesus did in the believer's place and taking on their sin and bringing them from life to death. And so, you see that, and then you see the hurt and the brokenness that like is in the students' lives in the world. And you just like, that's conviction to like, hey, we're going to love these students. We're going to show them God's love for them, show them Jesus. And then we do everything for a purpose too. And I told like our volunteers, like even dodgeball, like we don't just do dodgeball because it's like a time killer, or like we're not teaching them, like it's not gonna be like David versus Goliath and get like
sling your stones.
Yeah,
destroy
like
the obstacles
like
in your life.
Our biggest like high school guy against like our smallest 6th grade girl, and it's
Oh,
like,
gosh.
if you win, you're David, or anything like that. It's like, good luck, right? As like the girl goes home with broken glasses and is crying. It's like, okay, that
I
didn't
was
work.
going to say, as the kid slings one across the room.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm Goliath. This is awesome. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah, that
Goliath
could
becomes a
backfire.
hero, and it's like, yeah, Goliath, let's go. But like we do, we do everything with a purpose, right? And so like we have Monday man nights, and we have Friday fun nights for the girls, and like we do those things not as there is discipleship that happens there, but we do those because we want to build community between our group leaders and our students. And so like when we play dodgeball on a Monday man night, there's something about pegging each other with dodgeballs that like builds community that is going to, follow me now, is going to translate in the small groups on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because like they have these fun shared experiences with their group leader. Friday girls night, they're doing, they're playing 9 square. They're like doing painting, and like they're just hanging out. They're having fun. And so a lot of that with those big events like Zombie Survival Night, like obviously like they're coming to the church. Yeah, there's for like Zombie Survivor Night specifically, there's not like a service. There's no like agenda of like you can only go into the zombie room if you like profess Jesus as your Lord and Savior or anything like that. But it's like, hey, this is an awesome thing that we do, that we want you to bring your friends who, if you said, hey, I'm going to youth group. Oh, what's youth group? Oh, we have fun. There's a service and there's small groups. Or you say, hey, come to youth group. This is a zombie survival night. Look at the video from last year. It's an awesome time. Now that student comes, right, who's never been to church before, and then they get introduced to the friend's group leader, and then they build that relationship, and they're going around shooting zombies, and like, it's just like, it's like instant community. It's like you
Is
put
this like our version of like scaring a kid so much that like they want to repent and follow Jesus?
It's the house of horrors.
I was gonna say, is this coming?
I got
full
no
circle?
more Nerf guns. No, as like the zombies are closing in and they're like, pray
Where
to
would
Jesus.
you go?
Yeah.
Where would you go if you had no Nerf darts?
Yeah. Pray Jesus right now. And like we have one college student comes out in like a big robe and like he's like, get out of here.
I think this is bordering on it. No, I think we crossed the line on
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you guys started it though.
I
For
know,
one
I'm
time
sorry.
it wasn't me.
I'm sorry.
But like those are things that like we have a purpose for them. We don't just do them just to do them because like they're, we do them because they're fun to do, but we do them with a kingdom mindset, right?
Yeah.
With
That's awesome.
like the Great Commission in mind that like, hey, we would not know these students if we didn't. A lot of students, they come for the first time on like our Glow kickoff night. They come for the first time at our Christmas party. It's kind of weird having a first time guest like halfway through the semester. But it's like, man, when they come, hey, that is when our volunteers, and they know this, they have to be like on it. As far as, hey, what's your, oh, dude, so glad you're here. You want to go shoot basketball? Like, not like overbearing, but like that is the time that we have to make that relationship. So when they get asked next Tuesday, hey, you want to come with me to City Church? Like, they're not going to care if we're shooting zombies 2 weeks in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be their first thought. They're going to come because they're going to feel comfortable. They've met me, they've met their group leader, they've met other people that they go to school with that they didn't even know went to City Church Youth. So there is a purpose behind everything we do. Sometimes you got to dig a little bit. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit, but like there is a purpose behind everything we do.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, Zach, it's been a joy getting to have that conversation, and you are doing a phenomenal job leading this ministry.
you.
I know
Yes.
I speak on behalf of, I think everybody who in our church who would just echo that and be encouraged by the work that you're doing as we transition to our local on tap. So we're gonna play a little bit of a game. You're one of the cool kids. You know where all the spots are.
Sweet.
So Ashlyn and I are gonna take some guesses on where high school and middle school students spend their free time, and like on the couch watching Netflix isn't an option because I mean they're probably doing that, but so that cannot be an option. This is terrible, but I was going to say the reason that you see all of your seniors disappear is because they're hanging out at the vape shop when they
Which
turn
one?
18.
Oh,
I
man.
don't know. I just remember like now that the laws have changed, I think this is not the same thing, but I remember like I'd go to dinner at Kusha's and there's one, I don't know which, there's one like in there, and it used to just be like on Friday night, this just giant puff of vape
Oh, no.
cloud coming out the door, and it was like littered with child students.
I think we need to have a talk about this because you are giving like way too much detail. They'd be like, yeah, but I don't know anything about that.
No,
Describe everything about the store and be like, well, I've never been in there. I'm just assuming.
it was an observation. I have not been in there,
Yeah.
but that's my guess as to where all your high schoolers and middle schoolers are going. Truth.
Can I say?
Yeah.
As much as
If you have
we hate it, yes.
if you have a child
sometimes.
who's 18, check their debit card history.
Yep,
maybe.
yep. I don't know. I've never been to one either. Sometimes evidence would suggest that yes. I don't want to assume anything, but
Fair enough. Fair enough.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll give it a
Like,
5
it
out
got
of
really
10. I'll give it a
awkward.
5 out of 10. I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
Ashlyn.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a really boring one, but I'm just gonna guess like Chick-fil-A.
8 out of 10.
Okay.
8 out of 10. That's a hot spot for lunches for college students. I mean for high school students.
Okay.
And like a post like practice milkshake.
I feel like that has to be like of the places that you can eat. Like
Of the restaurants, that's number one.
I
That's
feel
got
like
to be
that's
number
popular.
100%.
Okay.
Okay, this is pre-COVID.
Okay.
Do kids still go to the movies?
Not. We were talking about this before. When we were in high school and middle school and we were getting dropped off at places that like we would hang out with friends, it is like no one.
The movies was the top of the
I
list.
know
Yeah.
that in the mall.
Yeah.
And
I was
you
gonna
didn't
say the
even
mall.
you didn't
It's
even
like
necessarily watch
Your
a
mom,
movie.
your mom would give
No.
you like $10 and be like, "Hey, see," and drop you off at the mall. And it's like that to me. I've never heard of that happening. I've never heard of that. Movies. Yeah. And I don't know. You know, I think this is what it's revealing, that I'm not as cool as you guys think I am, that I'm not like know where all the hot spots are in Tallahassee for middle school, high schoolers. I mean, I have a few ideas. You guys haven't hit them though.
I'm trying to think about, like, so when I was in high school, I lived on the north side of Tallahassee, and that was like when I was too old for this, but like my sister who was younger, so maybe like middle school, my parents would drop her and her friend off at like the super Walmart that had just opened, because like there wasn't a Target there. She was too young.
0 out of 10. 0 out of 10.
She was too young to go to the movies, and so that's where they would take her, and they would literally spend like 2 hours in Walmart.
Just walking around Walmart.
Yes. So like when I think, I mean, and also Tallahassee's not really big on the mall scene so much. So that's like, that was where I wanted to go in high school. So I'm trying to think of like other places that you can just hang out.
Okay, I was gonna say I have a thought.
Okay.
Hangar 38.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say
Really?
that
Yeah.
feels like a go drop my kids off,
is.
give them $20,
Oh.
let them get like a little game card or whatever
That
it
is
is.
this
Okay.
generation's dropping off at the mall.
I would have
Okay.
said that would, I wasn't sure if like older kids would
Bowling
go
with
and
the
do
boys.
that.
Bowling with
Okay.
the boys.
Shout out.
Shout out.
King Steak Kings.
King
All right.
Steak Kings. Do you want me to list a few of them?
Yeah. Give us a couple spots in Tallahassee.
Dropping into Warzone is a big one.
What is that?
That's a video game.
Oh.
Call of Duty Warzone.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't know what that
Yeah.
was.
all middle school and high school guys, if they have any form of gaming, they're dropping into Verdansk, which is like the map in Warzone. I know nothing about it. My favorite place to drop is
says the guy
Verdansk.
with the Twitch
Right.
channel.
Hey, can I plug it? No, I'm kidding. Please don't go watch. It's boring. I'm not very good. But that Wakulla Springs has been
Ah.
one during this time.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's like the hot spot.
That's really
hot
surprising
spot.
to me.
And
too.
and then this is honestly crazy because I feel like this is a very college thing to do, but I think that is kind of like, I think there's something bigger that, next podcast, next week when I'm on, we can talk about it. But
Inviting yourself back
yeah,
already.
100%.
We got to see how the stats do.
This is a lot
Yeah.
of fun. But they go to like road trip to the beach, like the St.
Oh,
George.
yeah,
St. George. Yeah, that
That's
makes
so,
sense.
like,
that makes sense. I did that when I was
See,
young.
I
Do
like
high school kids go to Providence Canyon in
I don't
Georgia?
know.
I feel like every college student in our
Yeah,
college
that's a
ministry
big-
goes there. I
that's a
didn't
big
know if
thing.
that was like a.
No, I mean maybe a few times.
That's like a good drive.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like
I was
2.5
gonna say it's a couple hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Panama City, Wakulla Springs, Hangar 38, hanging out online with like video games is a big one.
TikTok
Greenway?
dances
No, I'm
at the
kidding.
Greenway. Yeah.
I'm always trying to push the Greenway, and
The
everyone's
Greenway.
like, yeah, you and all the other
Yeah,
30 plus are out there.
it's
Yeah,
All
we're just
right.
gonna.
Well, on that note, since we've reached a natural stopping point, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Zach, thanks for joining
thanks
us
for having me. It's been a lot
another
of fun.
episode of the Local Dive. If there's something that you would like to hear us talk about, a topic you'd love to hear us cover, let us know either on Instagram or Twitter at the Local Dive Pod, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Thanks for listening to The Local Dive, a podcast diving into deep and shallow musings about Christ, the church, and culture. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow The Local Dive on social media and continue the conversation with us on Instagram and Twitter at The Local Dive Pod.